All right, everyone we're expecting is here, so we can get started.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Good morning. First item is item A, call to order, roll call, establishment of a quorum and chair's introduction. Good morning. The time is 9 a.m. I call to order the February 16, 2023 meeting of the California Contractor State License Board Licensing Committee. I am Jim Ruane, the committee's chair. Before I continue, I'd like to turn it over to Christy Sleege, our legal counsel, to talk to the board and the committee members about some cautionary issues. Christy? Is Christy on board?
Christy, can you unmute?
Sorry, I was muted.
Okay, thanks, Christy.
Thank you. My name is Christy Shields. I'm an attorney with the Department of Consumer Affairs Legal Affairs Division, and I've been recently reappointed to the board as board counsel. I wanted to welcome all of you this morning, and nice to see you all again. I've been board counsel in the past. I did want to remind those members of the board who are not members of this committee that they may attend the meeting only as observers under the California Open Meeting Act requirements. This includes not making statements or asking questions during the meeting. So just clarifying that position. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you, Christy. Appreciate that. Committee members, we'll start our meeting with our cameras on, but if we experience any bandwidth issues, I may ask you later to turn off your video camera. When you would like to comment at any time throughout the meeting, please select the raise your hand icon in the WebEx application. I will call on committee members to speak. When called upon, please unmute yourself, and when you are finished, return to mute. You will also need to click on the raise your hand icon again to lower your hand. Joining us today is Registrar David Fote, Chief Deputy Registrar Michael Jamnetsky, CSLB staff, and our board legal counsel, Christy, you just spoke to us. Our host and moderator is Public Affairs Supervisor Rico Garcia and Executive Office Analyst Mariah Rivera. She will be calling the roll. Mariah, can you please call roll and establish a quorum?
James Ruane.
Here.
David De La Torre.
Here.
Miguel Galarza. Miguel Galarza.
Here.
Diana Love.
Here.
Steve Panelli, approved absence. Johnny Simpson.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, Mariah. Our next item is B, public comment session for items not on this agenda and future agenda item requests. Next is agenda item B, our public comment section. This item is provided for public comment pertaining to items not on this agenda. To allow this committee enough time to conduct its full schedule of business, I will be limiting public comment to 3 minutes apiece. Please note that the state law prohibits committee members from discussing any matter brought up during public comment. We are also not allowed to act on any item not on this agenda. If you want the committee to discuss a topic not on this agenda, you can ask us to consider placing that issue on an agenda of a future meeting. If you had an application, complaint, or disciplinary charges pending before the board, we ask that you not discuss the details of your case or pending complaint. Committee members are not permitted to receive evidence or information that is not part of the administrative record in the case. If your comments are related to a specific agenda item, you can make your comments now, but you may want to wait until that item comes up for discussion. We'll ask for public comment before acting on any item. Members of the public, if you joined us on WebEx and would like to make a comment at this time, either raise your hand or use the chat feature to send us a note that you would like to offer public comment. If you joined us by phone, would like to make a public comment, press *3 to raise your hand. We will use this same system throughout the meeting for public comment during each agenda item. Rico Garcia is our moderator today. He will be assisting us by monitoring the public teleconference line. Our next item is item C, review, discussion, and possible action on legislative proposal regarding information a qualifying individual must provide under Business and Professions Code Section 7068.1. Please turn to page 8 for agenda item C. There are 2 proposed amendments to Business and Profession Code Section 7068.1. Fuad, please explain to the committee some concepts related to this section of law that may improve licensing division efficiency. Fuad?
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Business and Profession Code 7068.1 is the statute that governs a license qualifier. This includes how many licenses a person may qualify and qualifier duties and responsibilities. In January 2022, this section was amended to require license qualifier applicants provide a duty statement as a consumer protection measure. The staff is recommending the duty statement requirement be removed because it is not necessary. These are the reasons. 1. Business and Profession Code 7068.1 provides the registrar authority to require applicants submit detailed information on the qualifier's duties and responsibilities. The license application already requires the qualifying applicant to affirm, under penalty of perjury, they will exercise supervision and control over construction operations. 2. CSLB is often contacted by employers to help drafting a duty statement. It appears such document does not exist for many employers. Reason 3. Collecting and reviewing the duty statements require time that delay processing times. Number 4. Existing law provides for administrative legal action and criminal prosecution if a qualifier does not exercise direction and control over the license's construction operations. Despite the recommendation on page 10, the staff does not need to make a recommendation at this time because the potential legislation will be discussed by the Legislative Committee today. That is all I have. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. So staff recommends removing the duty statement requirement from the section, leaving the wording intact that allows CSLB to require detailed information on the qualifier's duties and responsibilities. The Legislative Committee, which is composed of the same members as this licensing committee, will discuss this matter further in the next meeting. Are there any committee member comments? Anything, Rico?
No committee member hands raised. Public, we have one call-in person, so I don't see a name here. They're on the phone.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Liz Webb, and I just received 2 weeks ago my relicensing. Can you hear me okay? Because it's telling me to unmute myself.
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. It's so I just received my relicensing fee, and I was shocked that it went up 56%. I feel like this is unprofessional, it is irresponsible, and it is extremely poor money management by the board and whoever's approving these. I'm a very small business. If I raised my rates 56%, I would be out of business, and understandably so, on something like that. If I
Liz, excuse me, with all due respect, this is not an item that is on this agenda. So if you could forward your comment.
Miss West, if you can leave your, if you're on the phone, we can provide you information to reach out to us directly so we can answer your question. If you can write down a phone number, I'll provide you my direct line. 255-2798, 916-255-2798.
Thank you, Mike. Any other public comments, Rico?
No other public comments. Oh, I'm sorry, we did have one just, hand just come in. Phil? Yeah. You can unmute yourself, Phil. Phil Vermeulen, are you there? You can sending you a request to unmute yourself.
Good morning, everyone. Couple of quick comments on this thing. First and foremost, there is absolutely no way with the staff that the board has now, the numbers, that the board could verify any of this information. All it would do is, if you kept this in, is everybody would have a template and use the same basic information, which is not verified whatsoever. So it's kind of a total waste. Secondly, I've been doing a lot of expert witness for a lot of construction law firms around the state, and this has become a full employment act for attorneys. There was an appellate decision that came out several months ago on this, and the contractor lost because of this provision in the code, and they couldn't provide the document that showed what the duty statement was, and the contractor lost. So again, this is a full employment act for attorneys that will be using this loophole for many, many years if we don't make this change. It serves no purpose whatsoever except to enrich attorneys. So with that, I would strongly urge you to follow what the staff is recommending today on this. Thanks.
Thank you, Phil. We've noted your comments. I'll now request Licensing Chief Fawad Gargazul provide the committee additional information.
This is regarding the.
Yeah, Fuad, this is the second issue in under 7068.1.
I apologize. The statute places restriction on the qualifying of additional entities. Specifically, a person shall not act in the capacity of a qualifying person for an individual or firm on more than one entity unless one of the following conditions is met. One, there is 20% equity among all the businesses. Two, each additional business is a subsidiary of the previous. This includes a requirement that at least 20% of the equity must be owned by the other firm to which the person acts in a qualifying capacity. Seems redundant. Most of the individuals on the license record for the business is the same. Here I would like to bring your attention to two subjects. First, the meaning of word firm, which has not been defined in CSLB Practice Act. Currently, CSLB recognizes a partnership, limited partnership, corporation, and limited liability companies as firm. Sole ownership licenses are not considered firm unless qualified by a responsible managing employee, or RME. This item will need further research. The Legislative Committee will discuss this more next meeting. Second point is the 20% equity requirement. The requirement is a consumer protection measure to ensure that the individual with the construction knowledge and experience is regularly involved in the business. This is particularly important when an individual is qualifying more than one license who are not subsidiaries or consist of same personnel. With regard to 20% equity requirement, this is only verified by a check mark on the application. No further review is done because, one, there are too many ways businesses establish ownership and the meaning of equity is not defined. Two, CSLB staff do not have expertise to analyze corporate structures. As a result, it is possible any number of individuals qualifying multiple entities cannot support that they have the 20% ownership stated on the application. In calendar year 2022, CSLB has taken 76 legal actions that include a 7068.1 violation. That's failure for qualifier to be present at job site. 59 of these actions are against entities with a qualifier that qualifies more than one license. One solution could be to remove the language requiring 20% ownership of each firm and replace it with a surety bond requirement. It would not be necessary to post a bond if the licenses qualified have a majority of the personnel the same. Mr. Phil Vermeulen of Contractors License Center will explain the proposal. Phil?
Thanks, Fuad. Good morning again. Back in 2018, the full board voted to eliminate this 20% requirement, but it was never followed up on. So this is being brought back today. And it's something that the board has stood for consumer protection as their number 1 through 10 priority forever. And there is absolutely no consumer protection right now for these qualifiers because they simply put down that they're a vice president, and the Secretary of State does not require showing that the vice president on any of the documents. So it's simply they put vice president down, mark the proverbial 20%, and they go off with life. No consumer protection whatsoever. By eliminating this 20% requirement and instead requiring a $25,000 bond, which is the amount for a qualifier that only qualifies one license that has less than 10%, makes infinite amount of sense. So I strongly support this requirement. I think it would go a long way towards helping to protect the consumer even more. So that, in a quick little nutshell, is my 2 cents worth on this.
Thank you, Phil. Despite the recommendation on page 12, staff does not need to make a recommendation at this time because potential legislation will be further discussed during the legislative committee. That is all I have. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Fuad, and thank you to Phil also. Any committee member comments on this? Don't see any. Rico, any public comment?
I don't see public comment. I do see a hand raised from Dave.
Actually, I'm going to unraise my hand. So I think Fuad did a great job of explaining that.
Thank you. All right. If there's no other comments, we'll move on to item D, which is review and discussion of licensing division classification determination process. Please turn to page 14 for agenda item D. The Contractor State License Board, CSLB, employs a classification deputy to respond to classification inquiries from the public and identify new issues relating to emerging technologies in CSLB licensing classifications. I have asked Fuad to give us a brief update on the status of these items moving forward. Fuad?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. CSLB has designated one staff person to serve as the licensing classification deputy. Classification deputy is the CSLB's primary contact in response to inquiries of licensing and classification matters from the following sources: legislator, applicants for a license, contractors, building departments, other state agencies, and the general public. As you can see, classification deputy keeps busy with approximately 16 queries weekly regarding the proper classification to perform a specified work. When a determination request is received, the classification deputy analyzes and reviews documentation, including plans, specifications, and contracts to determine the proper classification for proposed and pending public and private projects, and provides verbal and written responses to those inquiries. The primary legal source used to determine the appropriate classification is the language used in the regulation or a statute that defines the classification scope of work. To assure consistent responses, CSLB has written classifications that go back over 60 years. The Chief of Licensing, Chief Deputy Registrar, and other CSLB staff also provide assistance when needed or requested. as described in the following July 2022 letter, and you can find the letter on your pamphlet. To an industry stakeholder, CSLB has implemented a plan for addressing license classification. Inquiries that do not have a clear answer in CSLB law or regulations or relate to evolving technology or trade practices. When such an issue arises, the staff will refer the matter to the executive office. The matter may then be discussed with the stakeholders and considered for public discussion at a future licensing committee or board meeting to determine if regulatory rulemaking is necessary. The regulatory rulemaking currently underway to clarify the appropriate classification to install battery energy storage systems is an example of this process. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. There's no committee board action necessary at this time. Are there any committee member comments?
I don't see any hands raised there.
All right. And Rico, any public comment?
No public comment.
Right. Thank you. We'll go on to item E, adjournment. There are no other items on the agenda for today. After we adjourn this meeting, we will take a 5-minute break and transition to the Legislative Committee meeting, which will be led by Legislative Committee Chair Miguel Galarza. Can we do this since the Legislation Committee says it's going to start at 10? Are we okay just taking a 5-minute break?
This is Christy Shields. Unfortunately, your agenda, sorry, let me put my camera on. Your agenda actually is noticed the meeting for 10, so we can't start any sooner than that. What I would suggest going forward is that your agenda indicate that that meeting would begin at a given time or upon conclusion of this meeting. So then you don't have that gap. But unfortunately, it was approved for posting with the 10 o'clock time on the agenda, so we can't start any sooner than that or we'd be in violation of the Open Meeting Act.
Thank
Sorry.
you, Christy. Okay. So Miguel, you're on at 10 o'clock. Do I have a motion to adjourn the Licensing Committee meeting?
I move to adjourn.
Second.
Licensing.
Second. Mariah, will you please call the roll?
James Ruane,
Aye.
David De La Torre,
Aye.
Miguel Galarza,
Aye.
Diana Love,
Aye.
Steve Panelli, approved absence, Johnny Simpson.
Aye.
We are adjourned.
You're adjourned. Okay, we'll see you all at 10 o'clock. Thank you.